I am Jim Collison and live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska, as well as our Gallup offices in Sydney, Australia. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on May 8th, 2018. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you do have questions during this live webcast, we do have a chat room that's available for you right below the main video window. If you just look down there, bottom left-hand corner is login. Choose that. Choose the guest account. Take the guest name out. Put your name in. Hit submit. That'll put you in the chat room. We'd like to hear from you during the show. We will be taking your questions live, so jump in there and get it done. If you have questions about after this webcast is over, after the recorded version is over, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or use a contact form right there on the live page. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Centers, GallupStrengthsCenter.com, for all your CliftonStrengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video in both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening. To all our webcasts are available to you. Head out to our coaches blog. You might want to bookmark that as well. Coaching.gallup.com. Well, one more thing. Don't forget, if you're on the Apple Podcast app, you can rate, review, and subscribe. The best way to get this on an automatic basis on your phone. If you're listening to it on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we go live. And if you're listening on Spreaker, you can subscribe to us over there as well and always be notified whenever we are live. Ann Lingenfelter is our host today. She works as a learning solutions consultant with Gallup out of our Sydney, Australia office. Ann, always great to have you on Call to Coach, and welcome back.
Thank you so much, Jim. And I think I owe you a happy birthday. You have a birthday coming up this week, do you not?
Not this week, but it's the birthday month. So it's
right.
It's at the very end of the month, and we're celebrating that with all kinds of fitness activities. So thank you.
Fantastic. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest tonight, Holly McBride. Holly is the group manager of organizational performance at Port Macquarie-Hastings Council. Holly's purpose is to empower the organization to be the best that it can be in relation to its people, planning, and process improvement. Having a career in local government that spans almost 10 years, Holly is passionate about strengths-based leadership, continuous improvement, organizational development, and the value that can be gained from creating an engaged workforce that are solutions-focused. Holly has introduced the Gallup Q12 and strengths-based leadership at Port Macquarie-Hastings Council, which recently won the Bluett Award for the most progressive and innovative council in New South Wales. Holly strongly believes that employee engagement and taking a strengths-based approach is key to individual and team success and will support PMHC to continue to grow as a regional leader. So Holly, welcome to Call to Coach. Congratulations on the award, and we're thrilled to have you with us tonight.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So Holly's top 5, because everyone's going to want to know, are arranger, relator, adaptability, futuristic, and positivity. And Jim has adaptability high in his top 5 too. So you guys will get along just fine, I think.
Arranger as well. That's my favorite one, number 1.
There you go. There you go. So Holly, if we could just start really to understand a little bit about Port Macquarie-Hastings Council, if you'll just tell us a bit about PMHC, and that'd be a great way to start.
Yeah, sure. So Port Macquarie-Hastings Council, it's located on the mid-north coast of New South Wales in Australia, which is about 4.5 hours drive north of Sydney, and we're about 6 hours south of Brisbane. It's a beautiful part of the world. It's got a population of around 80,000, and that's set to grow to around 120,000 over the next 10 years. So we're in a real period of change and growth at the moment, which is exciting, but it also brings some challenges for us as a local government council. We're, as I said, a beautiful region. The beaches are fantastic. We've got quite a high tourist population that come in and visit the region. So yeah, it's a great place to live and to work.
Because we're going to have people who are going to watch this, not just within Australia, but really our global audience will have a look at this eventually. Can you, and it varies country to country, what the role of a local council is. Can you just do a few bullet points as to what sorts of things you're responsible for at the council level?
Yeah, sure. So that's one of, I suppose, the the great challenges, but also what's fantastic about a local government council, that the breadth of what we cover. So the services that we provide to our community range from water and sewer, infrastructure delivery, so looking after the roads. We do parks, maintenance, sporting facilities. It then goes across to community engagement, economic development, and then we've got those development and environmental services, waste management, and we've got those services that are around corporate performance, which is the division that we sit in, that provide financial management. We've got business units. So we've got our glass house, which is a key arts and culture facility within Port. And then we've got obviously the services that you need to run a business around your HR functions, your finance, your IT.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hall, how many staff do you have, and how many locations are they spread out and across?
Yeah, so we've got an FTE of around 550, but that's around 600 staff when you take into consideration your casuals and part-times, etc. And we are split across multiple sites. So we've got a HQ building, but then we've also got depots, which are for our operational staff. We've got a number of depots. We've got a sewer and water treatment facilities. Then we've got things like an off-site laboratory. We've got the crematories that we look after, and also the glass house. So we have got a number of sites split around the region.
Yeah. So I would think, I mean, I know that each council, if there's councils listening, are going to have their own unique challenges that they have to deal with on a day in and day out basis. But I would imagine that they would have similar structures, whether they're bigger or smaller, as far as those remote working population, very different work responsibilities, and bringing in any sort of whole organization approach to performance or engagement or culture is tricky, isn't it, across so many different areas and locations and departments?
It is, absolutely. And I think Port Macquarie-Hastings Council, it went through a period of change a number of years ago, where it went through administration and lost its council. So it had to go through a period of rebuilding as well. And Craig, our general manager, came in 2014, and he's really taken an approach that's focused on building a values-based organisation as that key foundation. Which has then led us towards that journey of focusing on the benefits you can get from creating an engaged workforce, and how that benefits through to the performance and what you achieve as the outcomes to the community.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting too, because a lot of the clients that we work with that are going through change, really trying to deal with change management, we'll talk a lot about using strengths and a strengths-based culture, and also Q12 for engagement. So certainly councils out there in New South Wales that have gone through the amalgamation process, so obviously you have not, but certainly there'd be a lot of them out there who have, that suddenly find themselves with sort of us and them mentality of different councils coming together and trying to work through that. I know you haven't gone through that necessarily, but it'd be interesting to hear about, your insights as to how they might use these tools that you've used in that sort of environment. Can you tell me where it did all start? How did you come across strengths, and tell us a bit about your journey?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose that if we go back to that focus around our values, we've got a very strong base foundation there with our organisational values, which are communication, accountability, professionalism, integrity, and teamwork. Those values were developed by the staff a number of years ago. So that with the staff developing the values, you get that ownership of them, that connection, and that buy-in to that. So what you can see on the screen is our In Focus document. And this talks to our vision and our mission as what we're trying to achieve as a workforce serving our community. So we're about creating a vibrant future and bringing council closer to the community. And I suppose one of the key things that we use to do that is our values. They are the foundation of everything that we do. And we've identified some key focus areas that will enable us to do that. So if I can just talk you through that document that you're looking at there, this is our 18-19 in focus document. So it's kind of our plan on the page. It's setting out as an organisation what we're working towards achieving and delivering over those next 12 to 18 months. The focus areas are around being customer centred, so putting the customer at the centre and at the heart of everything that we do. Being outcomes focused is really about focusing on delivering what we say we will, and then creating that engaged workforce. So we're clear on what it is we do, why we do it, and we're using that engagement to help us support our delivery and our performance. And then being values based, we're accountable for the work that we do, and we don't just focus on what we do, but we also talk about how we do it by making those values live and part of everyday what we do. We've introduced some key performance indicators where we've set organisational KPIs, and then we're going to set some divisional and team ones. So this is really about bringing the organisation in and connecting them as an individual to that broader organisational strategic objective. So teams will be able to have conversations around what is it they're going to do over the next 12 to 18 months to help us achieve those organisational goals. And then our success factors on the right are our outcomes. So that's what we will achieve. So we talk there about being a regional leader, and I suppose the key one that links to the approach we've taken with the Q12 and the strengths is that we will have a highly engaged workforce who are solutions focused. So the work we've done there by introducing the Q12 as our way to measure employee engagement will really help us measure how we're achieving towards that outcome.
Yeah, Holly, fantastic. I mean, I just have to say that firstly, I know I've done a lot of these called to coaches, and I've worked with an awful lot of clients who are trying to create organizational change. And one of the most important factors in success is simplicity. And the fact that you have a plan on a page that each and every person can pick up and look at and know in one glance is so important, because in order to be able to get anything done, it has to be digestible, it has to be actionable, it has to be, the language has to be commonly shared and understood. And there are so many organizations out there who have vision statements and mission statements, and no one in the organization even knows them unless they, go back and look at their annual report or something. They can't articulate them. They don't understand how they impact, the work that they're doing day in and day out. So I think, firstly, the fact that you've made it very simple for your team is brilliant. So well done. I'd love to hear, how you link the Q12 specifically and strengths. I think it's important. A lot of folks who are listening will know a bit perhaps about strengths, a bit about Q12. Maybe if you could, you start wherever you want, but maybe do a little bit of an introduction to us, just to really, what you understand it to be and what your team understands it to be and how you use it.
Yeah, so I think I can talk you through the journey we've gone on so far, and I suppose we're a couple of years into it, and there's certainly still more to go, but we've made some really good progress towards helping us achieve that engaged workforce, and we're definitely on the right journey there. So it started back when we were looking to do a all staff survey. And we've previously done those over a number of years, and we used a more what I'd call traditional staff survey, where you asked people to complete around 150 questions. We really struggled to get people to complete the survey, and then when we got the results, we actually didn't do anything with them, because you get this huge report and there's almost too much there to do anything with. So when I was looking for options around what we could do to measure how we are going as a workforce and measure our culture and how engaged our employees are, I came across the Q12. And what really appealed was the simplicity of the just 12 questions, the accessibility of it, and that you could make and use the survey mobile, so that we'd be able to really take it to our staff that work in those other areas. So we conducted the first survey in February 2017, and obviously it was a very different survey to what people were used to receiving before. It was just 12 questions, and we also added in, I think, 4 of our own questions, and then gave people the opportunity to do a free text question at the end, so they could have a voice around it. What was key to, I think, some of the key points I'd share around the success of the surveys. We've done one in 2017, February 2017, and then we did a second one in February 18. So we've been able to measure our growth over that 12-month period. Both times, we've done the same in terms of the pre, the during, and the post communications around the survey, which I think has been key to the success of the survey. We put together some pre-communications around what the survey is, what the purpose is, and what the intent is, so people understood why we were taking this approach, and that we really wanted them to engage in the process. And we used a variety of methods for that. So we used some general manager messages. So Craig was really behind, and we got that support from the executive and the senior leadership team around the approach we were taking. We used some staff newsletters to put that out there. But one of the issues that we have is not all of our workforce have access to emails. So there's challenges there in communicating with them. So we did a poster campaign, which meant we could then put the posters up on news boards around the workforce out at all the depots. The survey went live and it was open for 2 weeks. And throughout the survey, we again did communications encouraging people to complete the survey. And one of the great things that we did during that 2-week period was, previously we'd asked the operational crews to complete a staff survey. They had to come in to one of the offices and sit at a computer and, I don't know, spend half an hour completing all these questions. This time, one of the great benefits of the Q12 is we were able to create an app and have that on an iPad. So we did barbecues. We had the sausage sizzle and the bacon going at 6 in the morning, and we went out to the depots and we had the iPads there, and they were invited to complete the survey, and it worked really well. We did 2 or 3 of those each survey. We did it the first year, it worked well, and we did exactly the same the second year. And I think one of the key benefits of that is we had around 70 to 80 people over the barbecues complete that survey, but there's 70 to 80 people that may not necessarily have had the opportunity to complete the survey if we hadn't have done that and taken it to them. And the great thing about the survey, it's so mobile, it was on the iPad, it was just really quick, simple and easy to do, and they could get their sausage and complete a survey, and it worked really well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you know what your completion rate was for
Yeah, absolutely. So we had around 90% completion rate, which is fantastic, I think, for certainly for us. And one of the great things with the online platform is you can see the responses coming in as it goes. So I become obsessed for the full 2 weeks in checking how many surveys are being completed as we go through. But we were so amazed by day 1, day 2, day 3. We were hitting the hundreds of surveys completed already, whereas previously, Craig, the general manager, commented that it was like drawing teeth, and we're having to really encourage people to complete the survey. And you'd get to the last but one day of it closing, and you'd really have to be, encouraging and forcing people to complete the survey. This time, we didn't have to do any of that, and that's been the same both years. We've had really similar completion rates, so that means we've got a really good comparison in numbers. So from 2017 to 2018, if we'd had a reduction in the number of people, then it wouldn't be a true comparison. But we kept the completion rate, which is really great that people have engaged in the survey that second year round.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good. How what did you do once the survey field closed? What did you do?
So the survey closed, and we collated the results, and the general manager does 2 all-staff briefings twice a year. We had one at the end of February. So that's just where over 2 briefings in the morning, there's an early one, a 6:30 one, and then one at 8 o'clock. All the staff are invited to come along, and Craig just gives a really good, it's for 1 hour, a really good update and an overview of what's been happening over the last 6 months. We celebrate and share our successes, and really gives you an insight of that connection of what we've achieved together as an organisation. So what I did was I prepared for both surveys, prepared a high-level overview of the results that we've achieved that Craig shared back with the organisation at those all-staff briefings. And then we take it forward into our employee engagement days, which happen around a month after the all-staff briefing. And there we hold a session that's dedicated to the results and giving the organisation a bit more of an in detailed overview of the results that we've achieved, and also supporting their understanding of why we're taking this direction, why we're focusing on employee engagement, what the benefits are, and the role that they play in supporting us to get there.
Who do you invite to that sort of session? I mean, does everyone come, or is it just managers, or who do you invite?
Yeah, so the employee engagement days are a really big key part of our organisational development and engagement activities. They happen every year, and they're over 2 days, and we go off-site, and the whole of the organisation are invited to it, and they attend one of the 2 days. So it's a really big investment on the organisation's part, and it shows our commitment to us getting together and engaging as a workforce. So it's a full day, and we go to a location that allows for indoor activities, but there's also outdoor space. And the day, I can talk you what the day looks like, is we have a series of activities. One is around demonstrations, where we get people from across the organisation to share what they do. So we had a weeds demonstration, or the drones demonstrated. Telemetry guys are there talking through what they do. Because it's such a diverse business, you don't get to see and appreciate what it is we deliver and what other people do. So a key part of the day is people can engage. They can talk to people that they don't get to do every day in their normal work, and really learn a bit more about what it is we do. One of the other activities we do, which is really key, is a community activity. So we use the day to work together, which is a very key link into those values as a team, to give something back to the community. In 2017, we built some play equipment for a rural community that had been affected by a bushfire. So everyone worked together to build a playground for the community out there. And this year we created care packs for the local paediatric hospital, which was really great. And then we have a session on values and a session around the engagement results. So that is really about giving the results back to the organisation, and people engaging in some conversations about what it is we do with those results. We start the day with an opening speaker, and that's really key to setting the tone for the day, and they really motivate us and set the tone and how we're going to engage throughout the day. So we've been lucky enough over the past couple of years, and that's where it's really linked in with where we're going and where we're heading. Linda Leonard, who I know has done a call to coach previously, she's local, so she's in Port, and she's from the Heritage Christian School. And she came and shared with us the journey they've been on in terms of how they've used the Q12 around engagement for their staff, and also for their pupils. And what that did was, it really gives the staff at Port Macquarie-Hastings Council a real-life, local example of the benefits that have been gained through using the Q12 and this approach. Certainly, it was great back in 2017 because it was all still so new. So Linda was really able to bring the Q12 to life and help us see the benefits that can be gained. And then this year we had Ryan McCarthy from Striker. He was our opening keynote, and he was really able to, he shared a personal story that he's taken himself around his personal leadership development and how he's used engagement and strengths, and also how Striker have focused on engagement and the growth that they've seen there. The real key takeaway from Striker was from Striker and Ryan was owning your own engagement. So Ryan was really able to share with us the importance of owning your own engagement and the role that you play every day as part of that. So it really aligned well with the day and the conversations that we have and what we get out of them.
Yeah. So keep going.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, just to round it up for the end of the day, this year we asked staff to, what is the one thing that you're going to take forward from the days? Because we get together every year, and it's really great, and there's energy, but it's how do you sustain that, and how do we keep it going forward? And it's really hard. We'll have the engagement results, but to measure what people are getting out of those days. So when we all came back together at the end, we asked people to just write on a Post-it note, what is the one thing you will take forward from today? And we got some really great things in there that I think talk to how we are growing our understanding and as an organisation around the direction that we're taking, because we got things on there around, I will own my own engagement, I will focus on doing what I do best, I will have more conversations around the Q12, don't always think everyone else is the problem, and engage more every day, not just annually. So we had hundreds of these Post-it notes where what everyone said, what they were taking forward out of that day back into the business. So that was really powerful, I think.
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of our clients say that is most valuable about the Q12 itself is not only is it an engagement metric, but it's also a manager's framework for the types of conversations that you really need to be having with your reports. And it's also described as the needs of the employee. So to be able to, once you've done the actual, census survey, do you use Q12 or the items in conversations? Do managers use it with their direct reports? Or are you doing any pulses with the platform that you're on, or anything like that? How else are you using Q12, if at all, besides the actual census surveys?
Yeah, so we haven't prescribed how people use their results and what they do with them. So following the employee engagement days, the team results are then circulated across the organisation. So what it's allowed us to do at the employee engagement days is to give everybody the same level of information around those organisational results and a bit of education around the language, around the engaged, the not engaged and the disengaged, because that was new to us. So we've had to go through a bit of an education around that. So we set that scene at the employee engagement days, which then enables the managers, coordinators, team leaders to then carry forward those conversations around the results with their teams. So we circulate the results following the employee engagement days. And then we have provided tools. Managers have gone through some Gallup, creating engaging workforce training, etc. And then we do allow the work areas to individualise how they then take forward their results, both at a team level and at using them within those one-on-one conversations. I can share with you what I've done with my team, if that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
So a bit of a combination of both. At a team level, we did some action planning where we identified 3 of the items that we felt would really benefit us as a team to focus on towards achieving our goals and where we were heading. And when we chose those 3 items, we then created an action plan for each one. And we used one of the Gallup templates around looking at what does that item mean to us. So as a team, we picked Q04, for example, I've received recognition in the last 7 days, and we unpacked what that meant to us as a team and what would it look like for us to say yes. So to rate a 4 or a 5, to move away from that 3, which is that soft no, to actually say, yes, I have received that recognition. And then we looked at what we needed to start, stop and continue doing as a team. And that was great because the continue allows you to really recognise that you are doing great things already. So we were able to talk through what it is that we're doing and what we need to continue. Start, we could then put forward our ideas around what we can do to improve, because there's always opportunities to continuously improve and do more. And then the stop, it allowed I suppose a safe and comfortable space to call out some of those things that we need to stop doing, which can often be linked to behaviours and things that we know are there, but we've never felt we had that courage to talk about before. So that was really great. And we created an action plan, and then we built that into team meetings where we did a follow-up, and we looked at what we'd achieved and what we still needed to be doing. And that's a great conversation to have, because it closes the loop, but it also makes you realise what you've actually been doing, and we have actually been doing some great things as a team, and to celebrate and share, and then also identify how we can continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep going. I keep going.
With the one-on-one conversations, part of what we've done around creating that engaged workforce is we've shifted our performance management system from your traditional 6 monthly check-ins, very rigid system, because we've recognised that the workforce of the future really want those ongoing conversations. They want to be focusing on strengths, and they want a coach, not a manager. So we've shifted to an employee engagement process which looks at having more frequent, meaningful conversations that talk about values and behaviours, as well as those operational tasks. So it's focusing on not just what you do, but how you do it. And so what we've also done is brought in those Q12 items into those conversations, because they provide a very good framework for managers to just have a conversation around something, expectations, so that you're clear on both sides, and it can be a two-way conversation. And I think when you bring it into those individual conversations, it's great to do as a team, but you are really able to individualise those items and really understand your team and what their needs are at that local level.
Hall, can you talk about any success stories, specifically an anecdotal story about some, employee manager or some sort of insight or, improved relationship or understanding that you've seen come from those sorts of conversations and the work you've done with engagement to date?
Yeah, I think that there's a few across the organisation. I mean, my team in itself are having the depth of the conversations that we're having now has really grown, and we're all kind of working towards the same goal that we weren't before. We had a team meeting last week actually, where we looked at what our team KPIs were going to be for that in focus document that we shared at the start. And we all responded individually around what we thought we needed to do around each of those focus areas. But when we looked at them and we themed them together, we were all very similar in our thinking. So a number of us put in there that we needed to do our Q12 action planning. We needed to continue that. We needed to focus on engaging and getting feedback from the organisation and focusing on our processes and our improvements. And I really don't think that we would have all been on that same thinking and heading in that same direction if we hadn't have had those action planning conversations that have really just started out our thinking and aligned us all in that same direction.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's really good. And do you? I hesitate to move off because you're giving us so much great practical advice that other people can use. I hesitate to move away from the engagement conversation, but I know that was sort of the starting point for you guys, but then you took it further into doing some of the leadership competency 360 work. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you thought that made sense to be the next step and how it's gone?
Yeah, sure. So we had implemented the Q12, And then we recognise the key to this is leadership within the organisation and how we lead and drive performance. And that's how we can make that link between creating that engaging workforce and those performance outcomes that we're achieving. So the general manager recognised that 360s are a really good tool to support with that. And for the senior leadership team, which is our group manager level and our executive. So that's our general manager, directors, and then our group managers to complete a 360. So to look at some options for doing that, I thought the best way to do it is to engage them in the process. They're going to be the ones that receive this feedback. They're going to be the ones that need to hear it and need to do something with it. So I engaged them in the process of choosing the tool that we were going to use. So what that looked like was I invited everyone over a lunch to bring their lunch and come and view some of the options. And I had about 5 or 6 tools and reports that I'd pulled together, and I just invited them to sit down, have a look through and provide some feedback around which one they felt it would be good for us to use. The outcome of that, which is what I hope for, it was to go with the Gallup Leadership Constituency 360 that focuses on those 7 demands of leadership. But one of the key things that they really liked was it was taking that strengths-based approach. So it's focusing on our strengths looking forward, not looking back.
Yeah.
And it really aligned with the work that we were doing and we'd already done with the Q12. So people really saw that benefit around how we could then link them all together. So we went with the Gallup 360 and we put together, working with yourself, and we put together a program around completing the 360. Also completing the strengths assessment, a half-day workshop around strengths so we could really develop our understanding and our awareness around the strengths and the power of them and what we can use them for. And then a series of 3 coaching calls with a Gallup coach. And I think some feedback from that really links them all together was one of the managers just couldn't believe how Chris, the coach, was able to link together his 360 results with his strengths and then look at the results he'd received in his Q12. And so they were really able to stream that through in the conversation and see how he can be aiming his strengths towards achieving that whole success in the way he moves forward with his leadership and his management.
Yeah, fantastic. And now you're in the middle of, I guess, of another round of 360 or doing that. How has it been? For some people, 360 is a scary place to go, right? They're afraid that they're going to get taken out or stabbed in the back or whatever the big fear conversations are around that. And to your point, I mean, the Gallup tool it is forward thinking. It's what what am I equipped with my strengths to be able to address? But how has it gone? The process, have people responded positively to the coaching and to the process itself?
Yeah, absolutely. They have. I think the key thing we're finding with the strengths is it's not a strength necessarily yet. It's that you've got that natural talent there, and we need to invest. We need to gain knowledge, experience, spend time with them to be able to aim them and turn them into those strengths. But the way the 360 is framed and the questions at the end that allow for those free text comments, it really is focusing on people providing you that constructive feedback that you can really use and turn into actions. And certainly through coupling that with the coaching calls and the strengths together, it enables you to look at what you got in your 360 results and overlay it with your strengths to see how you can then use your strengths to put that feedback into action. So whilst it's confronting for some people, I think it's really helped by, we're not saying that you've got all these weaknesses and this is what you've got to do to fix them. We're using language that says, well, this is what you are naturally aligned to, and this is how you can start applying that natural talent to turn that into a strength and to take you forward. I certainly viewed my 360 results with a strengths lens. So with my 360, I I looked at the results and the free text comments, and it was a simple thing. I just took a highlighter and I highlighted some of the themes that came out. And for instance, the enthusiastic was a key word that streamed throughout the feedback comments. And I think that really talks to, it shows my positivity, strength is being received. People are seeing that in my day-to-day interactions, and that's really coming through. One of the key opportunities within my 360 was around expanding that circle of influence. So that's where my relator strength perhaps isn't being received as well as it could be, because I'm developed those close working relationships. But I've received some feedback from my broader team around them not feeling as connected or having that relationship there with me. So that I was able to take away from my 360 some really good actions about aiming my strengths moving forward and expanding that circle of influence. My futuristic strengths, also in my top 5, came out as a growth opportunity. So coupled with my adaptability, it means that I can very easily be looking into the future, but then I can easily change and switch back to the here and now. And some of the themes of the feedback in my 360 were around creating a clear vision for organisational performance and taking that forward. So I've really taken that on board, and I've brought the team together, and we've focused on creating our own plan on the page around defining our purpose. We've then looked at the organisational values, but understanding what they mean to us and what they look like in terms of above and below the line behaviours for us as a team. And then our vision around how we are going to, what we're going to achieve towards those key performance indicators that we talked about at the start. And then what is our own personal mission that we're going to agree to as a team to committing to those.
So, Hall, in your team, it sounds like it's absolutely textbook. I mean, it just sounds like you've done everything you could possibly do to set everyone up for success and really make the most of all of this that you've done. Are the other teams that are having the same sort of luck, or it's not luck? Are they having the same sort of success?
Yes.
Or and what are the challenges they're facing? Folks who are sort of outside of the organizational development area that you're in. So obviously, this is a comfortable spot for you, but for other departments, maybe not so much. How are they going with it all?
I think that it does vary across the organisation. Some people have really, I suppose, taken more naturally to this than others. But we really have worked at empowering managers, and also those not just at the group manager level, but that's why we're putting the next group of leaders through the program, because it really is about how can we, I suppose, infiltrate the organisation to be able to seed it through and build that language and that conversation around what we do, and we can start having those strengths-based conversations. There are teams that have done various things around the action planning. We did a variety of more structured action planning with some teams, and then other teams have just built it into their conversations and their one-on-ones. Our Bush Regen team, for instance, they got together and did a really good team conversation around their results, where they unpacked each one and understood what it means to them, and then they took the items forward into their one-on-one conversations. So there is some great stuff happening across the organisation, but because we have allowed that individualisation, it is varying, and we're just having a go, and I think that's the important thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about having that conversation, starting that conversation, and I think as our confidence grows in that, then as an organisation, we'll get better. The In Focus document, by having it there, will help, so that with a key performance indicator around engaged workforce, I think that will naturally encourage people to think more around what are the types of conversations we can be having using the Q12 as a tool, because I think that is something that we can still grow around the fact that it's not just a survey, it's an actual tool that people can use to have those conversations, and that will come with our maturity as we embed it throughout the organisation.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'll just share one of the things we have done with the senior leadership team to continue our growth and understanding of strengths is we've added it to our fortnightly meeting agenda, that someone will present back around their strengths. So each leader will take a turn to talk to either one of their strengths or their top 5, and a combination of using some of the YouTube video clips or just sharing their experience. So that's keeping it front of mind, and we'll build our growth in that area.
Yeah, fantastic. What about the? I'd like to hear a bit about the award that you guys won. I mean, I know that you know, when you look at your Q12 results, that and you see improvement in the different areas, and your different teams achieving the items that are on the plan on the page. That in itself is an award and a success. But it is always nice to get an external recognition. Can you tell me a bit about the nature of that award itself, and you know, why you won it, and what it meant to you guys?
Yeah, so the AR Bluett Award, it's kind of like the pinnacle of achievement within local government within New South Wales, and we won it for being the most innovative and progressive council in New South Wales. And it looks at the full breadth of what we do. So we won it for 2017 around what we've been able to achieve and deliver and progress to provide to our community. So we looked at things that we deliver in terms of our strategic land use planning, how we're engaging with the community, how our innovative approaches that we're taking, what we're doing to continuously improve what we do. And I think what's key around the approach we're taking with the Q12 and the strengths, we are leading the way there within local government. In taking that approach, as it's not a very common approach that's been applied across local government. So whilst the award wasn't just focused on that, it certainly has been part of, and we did receive some recognition around the approach we're taking for our employee engagement process and from the judges, that we have moved away from that more traditional performance management system to focus on that more agile approach to having those meaningful conversations and placing that manager as a coach. So it's a great achievement, but it's kind of just that it doesn't end there. It's a great recognition for what we've achieved, but it's now how can we continue to grow and where can we go to from here?
Yeah, fantastic. Jim, do you have something from the chat room or some questions?
I do indeed. Yeah, so Julie's been dying to get this question answered for a while. So Julie, thanks for hanging on in the chat room there. One, she want to know how big your direct team is, and then how often are those regular conversations versus the 6 monthly meetings that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so my team in total is 14. I've got 4 direct reports, and then the rest are indirect reports. My one-on-one conversations, they vary. So I've individualised those based on the needs of my direct report. So some I catch up with weekly, then there's fortnightly and there's monthly. And then as a team, we get together ideally around every 6 weeks, but I'm not going to say that's exactly happened because things get in the way, school holidays, public holidays, leave, etc. So I think we get together often and in between to look at that kind of action planning type conversations, or we'll have conversations that focus on safety, or we make them really engaging, those meetings. So it's not just giving back information that we could share through an email or going around asking people what they do. We use daily morning stand-up meetings to do that. So the operational meetings are a daily quick 9 o'clock stand-up meeting where we bounce back, we share where we're up to, and we can check in on the operational side. And then we use those 6 weekly, bi-monthly whole team meetings to really focus on having those engaging conversations and taking us forward as a team, which has been really key in terms of creating us and building us as a team together. What was the last part of the question?
I think let's see. She'd asked about the regular conversations versus the 6 monthly meetings.
Yeah.
How often are you getting regular conversations in the mix?
Yeah, I think I kind of, so that depends on the individual, and then about every 6 weeks.
Let me modify that question a little bit for my own question, in that Do you find over the last year, do you find more strengths conversations happening on a more regular basis? We're seeing in our data that the more conversations that can happen daily, even sometimes in conversations, they don't want to wait for 6 months to get a performance review. We want little bits over time. Are you finding a strengths conversations getting more frequent? In other words, that it's infiltrating more in those conversations more on a daily basis now that you've been concentrating on this for a year?
I think with the strength side, we are still very early with that journey. The Q12 is certainly coming through a lot more in our conversations, and our managers are using that more to support their one-on-one conversations. Strengths, because we've only put that through at that higher leadership level at the moment. We've certainly engaged in strengths conversations, so the managers with the directors who are their managers, and also encouraged managers to share their results, which we've done. There's a number of us that have done that, shared the 360 results and the strengths with their teams. In terms of it going down through the business, I think that's a work in progress for us. And that's as we become more mature in that language and that use of them, we'll be able to have more of those strengths-based conversations. But certainly I think the thinking and the shift of the focus, whilst people haven't necessarily done the strengths assessment, there is starting to become more of an appreciation around focusing on strengths and just talking around what it is that people are good at and focusing on those, whilst recognising that it doesn't mean you don't have to do some elements of your role just because it's not your strength. I think there's a maturity being gained there. So certainly conversations I think have been taking place that are looking at what people do well, and that's where it links with the Q12, because having the opportunity to do what you do best every day by nature will be using your strengths. So if you're having conversations either at a team level or at that individual level, and you're looking at that question, for instance, then you're naturally going to be having those strengths conversations.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear you say that. We know strengths has this direct correlation to engagement, and so great to hear that you're doing that. One of the questions, not on the Q12, but we do ask it as part of it, is I've made progress as a team towards our Q12 goals. It's not that exact. It's not stated that exact way, but if you were to give yourself a little bit of a grade over the last year of saying we've made progress on what we've said, how would you grade yourself?
I think we've done really well, and that came back when the team touched base around putting up what we'd actually achieved. And I think I'd say we're around, what do you want to grade out of 10? I think out of 10, I'd say we're around a 7 or an 8 at least. Absolutely.
Good. No, good to hear. That's a hard question because you're not ever going to throw yourself under the bus, right? That's not going to happen. So, but good to hear. And I think that's important that in this area of engagement, it's constant improvement, right? It's a maximizer's dream.
That's right.
Of being able to go in there and continually make improvements on a team. And no teams have ever made it all the way. And so exciting. I think that's one of the most exciting tools that exists in the Q12. It's not just the Q12 itself, but the ability to look back and say, have we made progress towards the goals we set? And that's a super important question. And we're going to run out of time here on this. So let's do some final thoughts and then we'll have to wrap it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just make one comment. One of the things that I think, Holly, that I see you guys doing so well is that many times people just sort of, do strengths assessments and get people top 5 reports and think that it's going to impact their performance outcomes. And the way that you guys have very strategically and methodically started at the top, brought it down. From the very beginning, you've embedded it in your philosophies and your systems and processes instead of doing Q12, just scatter, and having it not be really linked to anything. So that's excellent, and I'll be very interested to see the next step as you take it down to the other levels of contribution. Any final words from you, Holly? Anything that I didn't say that I should have, or any final words that you think those that are folks that are out there, maybe councils that are looking at you guys and thinking, okay, how are we going to take a step like this? What would your advice be, or your final words?
I think the key is just around that that having a clear, I suppose, purpose around what you're doing and why you're wanting to achieve it, and linking it in with what you're already doing, so it doesn't seem like, oh, this is just another thing that we're doing, or another fad, or a phase. So being able to integrate it with what you're already doing, I think is key. Communication and engagement up front is key as well, to get that buy-in and people understanding how they connect to it, the purpose and why they're there. And I think, I suppose for us in itself, our growth just in the 12 months talks to how we have grown as as an organisation. And by just putting it out there that it's just about having a conversation. We're not saying it has to be perfect. It's just starting that conversation and giving people tools, feeding them tools to do that. So I think the ultimate measure of our growth was we went from an overall rating with the Q12 from 3.65 in 2017, and then out of 5, and then we achieved 3.77 in 2018. So we were really pleased with that growth within those 12 months. And then within that, our engaged grew from 29% to 36%, and our actively disengaged reduced from 19% to 14%, which I think is a fantastic achievement just within those 12 months.
Yeah, congratulations, and thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about that.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. I know people are going to really get a lot from that, and thank you. And if you are listening and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Jim will put my email address up in the chat room, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you about the work that we've done with Holly and other clients. So thanks so much, guys. Jim, thanks for staying up late for us here in Australia.
It's always good. I'm just going to say this before we drop off here. The last couple called to coach, Holly, you mentioned this. The last couple called to coaches have been kind of a clinic in engagement. And I'm not going to lie, you guys are doing some great work over there. So congratulations on what you're doing. There seems to be a thread through our Called to Coach series, especially there in Australia, where strengths and engagement are coming together. And it's great to see, because they are peanut butter and jelly. Maybe that's an American thing, but they are great together.
Vegemite and toast.
Yeah, there we go. And so great job, Holly. Thanks. Stay around for just a second. Hopefully your PC will hold up for us here just for a few more minutes. Let me just remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com. You can send us your questions or comments. We're even looking for some guest bloggers for our coaches blog. You can send us we're looking for 400 to 600 words, put guest blogger in the subject line, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. We'll review that, and that's a possibility you could be on the blog. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, plus all the past ones we've done. I mentioned some we've done in Australia, and if you haven't gone back and caught our Australian version of this, like I said, Q12 Clinic, strengths included, you should be listening to these. Head out to our coaches blog, coaching.gallup.com. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, you can see a complete list of all our courses that lead to certification. They're available on our certification or on our courses site. Go to courses.gallup.com. And do we have anything coming up in Sydney that you want to highlight from a training perspective?
Gosh, we have an ASC going on this week. And then we have our first ever 2-day SSC happening June 18th and 19th. So that's exciting as a public course. So you can check it out on the Gallup webpage for all the dates.
Check it out, courses.gallup. Not hard to remember, courses.gallup.com. And or you can send us some, if you have some questions, there's a contact form right there on the live page. Don't forget to join our Facebook group. We got a very big one of those, almost 11,000 people in there. Facebook.com/called to coach will get you in there as well. We do these all the time, and we'd appreciate your feedback on them as well. We'll do another Called to Coach here. And with that, we'll say goodnight, everybody.